Song, that's exciting.
Listen to the people, listen to humanity, listen to the Parrot, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV, Parrot TV.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you. Hello and welcome to World Inkers Network special perspective piece on women and violence. And I am Dustin Pickering, your noble and honest host. Today we have our guests, Priyanka Banerjee and Candice Louisa DeQuinn, to speak with on this issue. And I would like to make an opening statement concerning the subject matter. Hannah Arendt, in her powerful essay on violence, pens thoughts with which even Nietzsche would agree. Power and violence are opposites, where the one rules absolutely, the other is absent. What this suggests is individual and collective empowerment is a goal worthy of society. By liberating women and allowing them to make choices regarding their lives and destinies, we reduce the violence in society. Arendt also notes that violence is an instrument, a means, but to what end do men attain by hurting women? In 2018, according to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, only 25% of sexual assaults were reported to police in the USA. As the pandemic forced unemployment and economic destitution, domestic violence and drug abuse rates surged as well. These problems are not endemic to the United States. For instance, in the United Arab Emirates, it is reported that women who report rape are sometimes charged with illicit sex or adultery. And in fact, a survey of 2,000 respondents in 2012 shows that women in the Emirates are far less likely to report violence against them by men. Violence and oppression plague women in societies all over the world in different ways. For this discussion, I've invited our guest, Candice Louisa DeQuinn, a licensed psychotherapist, and Priyanka Banerjee from India to discuss the effects of violence on women and human relationships. How can we globally prevent violence against women, encourage development of pro-social behaviors, and progress towards the society we envision? This is a win perspective discussion to celebrate women for our special women's issue of World Inkers magazine. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us today. You guys are awesome. Thanks for being on the show. So let's start off with a basic question. What kind of violence can be perpetuated against, women in general that affects human relationships? How do we view this as in a lens of through the lens of seeing women as obviously as people who suffer specific forms of violence that can affect their ability to say navigate their own relationships and other people to navigate with them in certain ways. So I would wonder what you guys have, what kind of thoughts you guys have on that.
So I think that one of the things that came up for me is prior to, I worked in publishing initially, and then I went and retrained and became a psychotherapist. And then I went back to publishing, so now I do both. And there's such a link between fiction and psychotherapy, because so many times people are writing about their experiences using the guise of fiction. And that speaks to, what we're doing as a society where we're not really providing sufficient platforms or, like you say, outcomes. And so what we do instead is we put it into literature, we put it into poetry. So when I started publishing, we at Indie Blue did we will not be silenced. And so that was an anthology of survivors. It wasn't just women, though. It was any survivor. So that would include trans, that would include men, anyone that had been sexually assaulted or the victim of sexual assault, or sometimes just in a family where somebody had been sexually assaulted and the impact of that. So it just has such a reach. You know, it's impossible to kind of give a single answer to that question in some ways.
So, Priyanka, what are your thoughts about violence against women in India specifically? How is the oppression and violence of women affecting their likelihood of their lives in general in India?
Okay, so can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes.
Right, okay. Violence against women in India is a very, very common issue. We all know that, not only in India, but all over the world globally. But in South Asian countries and especially in India, it is because of lack of financial independence that Indian women, Indian brides have to face a lot of problems, right? And as far as sexual violence is concerned, this is not at all, an Indian matter. It is a global matter. It's a universal problem. 1 year old, baby is raped not only in India but also in other countries. It happens in India, and at the same time, an 85-year-old woman is also getting raped in India. Okay. Foreigners are scared of visiting India. Why? We all know the reason. Security is at stake. And especially, acid attack survivors. In India, what is happening, violence is going on. Violence has become an inevitable part of life. Sexual violence is very much common in schools, colleges, houses. Relatives are not sparing children. Okay, so mothers are feeling so much insecure right now. Even being a mother, I also feel insecure when I think about co-ed schools. Oh my God, male teachers are there. Okay, so I don't know who will attack my daughter when. I'm scared of allowing my daughter to go to a neighbor's home. I'm scared of allowing my daughter to play with my, relatives. So that is so common now. Nobody is sparing a girl child. Why? Flesh is so important in life. One thing, Dustin, we can never control it unless and until we change our attitude to life. That is why we always discuss not only about literature and poetry, Candice, whenever we, discuss about life, Dustin always focuses on the philosophical and spiritual aspect of life. Unless and until you change your attitude to life. I have my boy also. He's 11-year-old. I train him right from now. Respect a woman. I train him. You have to control yourself right from now. So it is the mother's duty. It is the mother's duty to train her, male child, to teach her male child to grow up as a responsible person, as a citizen. And the mother should teach her boy to change his attitude to a woman. Why should these things happen? And on the other hand, being a woman, Indian women especially, they are very shy. They're different from American women, Candice, right? So we cannot express. I am really very, very proud of my American friends because I have noticed the difference between Indian women and American women. You people don't feel shy to express the truth. Whereas in India, what happens, I am telling you, if a child, if a girl gets molested, rape is a different issue. Even if she gets molested, she can't speak up the truth. People, the society will blame her first. Why did you wear short dress? Why did you go there alone? Why didn't you go there with your father? Why did you provoke your friends? Okay, so does a short dress allow a man to touch the private parts of a woman's body? Never? No? right? So if the constitution of a country allows me to wear a short dress, then who the bloody hell are you to stop me from doing that, right?
Absolutely.
So this is the constitutional right of a woman to visit a pub, even at
Right.
midnight.
Right.
So you cannot blame me. You are not the government is not the moral guardian of a woman, but the government's duty too is to protect the rights of the citizens, both male and female. And as far as sexual violence is concerned, you see what is happening in different parts of India, not only in cities, but in rural areas, women are getting beaten up so frequently, and that is a norm. And women are enjoying that scene. They are observing that scene. What is happening? Mother-in-laws are deriving pleasure out of the pain and trauma of daughters-in-laws. But I must not blame that mother-in-laws are always very bad. But it happens in rural parts of India. Dowry is happen. Dowry is a grave, is a serious matter. Dowry issue. Another thing is child trafficking. Child trafficking, it has become a business. Why isn't why aren't the politicians taking up these issues as most important issues? Isn't a child's life, the most important matter, to her mother? So what is happening, what the mother is facing, what the mother is feeling when she's losing her child forever? It happened in front of me. I just a few months back, I visited a place, and there suddenly, people started shouting, one of the girl child was missing. Okay, so finally they got her back. But if accidentally she would have been kidnapped on that day, then who would have been responsible for that issue? Not only government, but the society also. And in Indian society, as I told you, that because women are still very shy, we cannot just, move ahead and slap on their face when they're passing nasty comments on women. We are allowing them to molest or to rape a woman in future.
The question
we have to stop it. Yeah, we have to stop it now.
What should a man who would like to learn more to respect women, what should, from a psychoanalytical or a psychotherapeutic point of view, an interpersonal dimension point of view, what should men know about women in order to show them more respect?
So I think that the first thing that we need to qualify is that sexual abuse happens to all genders. And I'm not trying to overemphasize that, but many times I'll have clients who are male and they'll say, I can't talk about this at all. No one will listen to me. No one's interested. So I'm not trying to hijack the conversation by saying it doesn't happen to women majoritively, because we know it does. But for example, with pedophiles, it's pretty 50-50. You'll get just as many boy childs being abused and sexually assaulted as you will female or in between. And so that's something to consider. But that aside, I just don't think it's as simple. I think men, for the most part, have really good intentions toward women. And we need to look at this as not just being a man against a woman thing, but this being a kind of, like you were saying, a societal acceptance of things that are wrong. And if we look at this sort of in a wider picture, there are a lot of things that we accept that are wrong. We accept the wrong presidents, we accept the wrong wars, we sit on our hands and we think about our new iPhone, and we don't spend enough time considering what really matters or actually doing anything about it. It's the classic kind of conundrum of what can we do? So as an individual male, I don't think it's as simple as, what can I do if I have good intentions? Because you've got society to some extent against you. And oftentimes, and again, this isn't justifying what's happening, but oftentimes the reason that a man will rape a woman is because he feels powerless. So some of this is also to do with the role of men in society, how they feel they're losing power, how they feel that women are gaining power over them, and that's the reaction to it. That doesn't justify it. Right. Because it doesn't matter how powerless you are. You don't go out and rape a child or a woman or anything, but it is part of it. So it's that whole thing of the pendulum swinging perhaps too much in one direction than another. So, for example, if it used to be that there was great endemic racism, then we want to change that. But do we go to such an extent that a white man feels he has no voice in our society? No, because then those white men are going to feel powerless and they're going to act out, because that's human nature. So right. I think a lot of it is the extremes that we're taking things to, where we're not considering what roles those people that were the former oppressors still need to have, you know, because if you're a white man, you yourself didn't necessarily go and do terrible things to other countries, but perhaps your ancestors did. But should you pay the price for that now, today in 2022? Not necessarily, because then that just leaves you angry and embittered and with nothing to do. Sexual abuse is the same thing in many ways. You know, it's a lot to do with acting out. And then, of course, there are other reasons, like there's perversions, there's other types of anger. That's happened since the dawn of time. You know, along with prostitution, sexual assault is one of the oldest sort of crimes and that's gone on. I don't think it will ever go away. And that's not being an egghead. I just genuinely don't see that changing. The only reason that women perhaps don't commit as many sexual assaults is because they're not, I don't know really. I mean, there's two sides to that. It could be partly because women aren't that way inclined, but it could also be just a physical thing that they're not able to rape as easily as a man. So who is to really say what women would do if things were changed? It's hard to say because we have always lived under a patriarchy to some extent. So right. I just think blaming men en masse is definitely not the answer. So in a way, my answer is what I know it wouldn't be, which is don't blame men, because all you do is alienate them. Right. And they need to be the ones who step up and say, look, I've got a daughter. I want things to change. I want that daughter to be able to go out in a short skirt and not feel afraid. I think one thing men don't always understand is that all women feel afraid. All the time. Even if they're badasses, they still feel afraid because they've either experienced it or they know somebody who's experienced it, or they've just got a good imagination and know what's out there. And that's a horrible feeling. And I know men get raped also, especially stranger rape, but I don't think the average man goes out on the street at night feeling as afraid as a woman does. And I'd love to see that change. Absolutely.
You know, I think a lot of things, you know, to protect women, and we definitely needed some changes in attitudes and the ability to speak out on these issues as we are doing today, and pressure the society to sort of adjust its attitudes towards people in general. And as Priyanka was saying earlier, you know, even like your attitude towards life. I mean, I think if we developed a deeper appreciation in general of life as a you know, this conundrum and this beautiful thing, we'd have less of a problem with violence in general.
Right.
We idolize power. I mean, as people, I think we just idolize this idea of, you know, of power, and that turns into sort of a sadomasochistic. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely something that we see in a lot of violence is people want, like you said very well, that people that act violently, sometimes they feel very powerless and they're lashing out. So I think that's definitely a wise observation. So Priyanka, what would you expect in a society that would be respectful of women? Let's say maybe legally, what kind of laws do you think we could structure? You know, like say in India we have, you know, you have some laws, and in America we have certain laws. What kind of laws do you think would be effective to protect women and their constitutional liberties?
In India, right now, I must say that laws are very, very strong about protection of India. I mean, women. If a woman can prove it to the court that she had undergone phases of domestic violence, then, you know, the law will take strong actions against the man. That's obvious. Okay. And there are also very, very strict laws against, you know, these kind of actions. If a woman can, you know, report it to the court and can prove it immediately, the police will, you know, arrest that man. If one can prove it, that she has gone through, physical torture or something like that, she has been attacked or hurt, or she has been, beaten up, then immediately the police will come and arrest that man. Okay, so in India right now, I must say that laws are very strong against any kind of, action that hurts a woman's body and also mind. Even psychologically also you can, hurt a woman, and a woman often passes through phases of psychological trauma, isn't it? So even psychologically, if you hurt her, that will also be considered as, one of the aspects of domestic violence case. So domestic violence cases are, have become very, very, domestic violence laws have become very, very strong in India. So regarding the legal aspect of this issue, I must say that it is okay, fine. The government has done its duty properly. But the problem is that I told you, in thousands and millions of families, women cannot come out of their home. They cannot speak up the truth. What happens in an Indian society, I must make it very clear to Candice, right from the beginning of life, a girl child is taught, you are a girl. You are a girl. Even if you are molested, you must not express it. Then the society will consider you as a bad girl, as a bad woman. Why? My question is why. So, there's some changes must be done in the sphere of education. Okay,
Yeah.
in schools and colleges, especially in Indian schools and in Indian colleges, teachers never discuss these issues with children. Teacher never ask girl students whether they have, experienced any such issue, because a hush thing goes on in Indian society. No, never hush. This is something that is a banned issue. Okay, so this has become a very part of the culture of the cultural pattern of the
Yeah.
mindset
Yeah.
of Indian people. This mindset you cannot change overnight, Dustin. You can
Right.
understand this is a very part of our existence. And in an Indian society, women are taught to adjust with in-laws, even if you die. And that is why so many suicides are happening. What is happening if a woman is not financially independent, and even if a woman is financially independent, she is forced by her parents also to adjust with her in-laws. Even if a woman finds that the man is, having an extramarital relationship with another woman or with several other women, she is forced to adjust with that man. No, you have kids. So you cannot, ruin their lives. You cannot ruin them. Perhaps she's beaten up every day. What happens? Yeah, in a particular class of Indian society, women are beaten up almost regularly by their husbands, and that is very much natural. And even in the morning, they go out for work and they're very calm. They adjust with everything, and they say, I met one such woman, and they told me, yeah, this is very natural. My husband comes late at night, drunk, and then he beats me up, had sex with me forcefully. I just told him, how could you allow him to do sex with you forcefully? And no, it happens like that. She has been taught right from the beginning, from her life, that this is normal, that he is powerful, he is superior to you, and you are powerless, you are inferior, you must adjust. You are, when I read Milton's Paradise Lost, I was just thinking about that matter, that Milton had in book 4, he has portrayed Adam and Eve in a brilliant way. Adam is respecting Eve so much. Okay, so that should be the proper attitude of a man to a woman. We both are equal. And if you read Hindu mythology, if you read Rig Veda, if you read Mahabharata, you will find that this inequality is basically not, something that is an inevitable part of our culture. No, in ancient India, women had been given very much respect. Even in the present society also, women are much respected by men. There are, so many good men in Indian society, but violence happens, violence occurs. And if you read Mahabharata, that's a wonderful text. We will see how Draupadi, that immensely powerful woman, is dealing with her 5 husbands and is dealing with her 5 husbands and with so much of power. And not only that, you see that deconstruction, the writer, of that great epic is subverting the patriarchal culture. What happened in ancient Indian society? A man would marry 100 women. A Brahmin would marry 100 women. And Draupadi is getting married to 5 men. And 5 men respect Draupadi so much. And what happens in that famous, scene when Dushasana tries to disrobe Draupadi, then Lord Krishna helps Draupadi, and Draupadi is also Yagasheni. She was born out of fire. So ancient Indian epic depicts woman as fiery, as as elemental, as primal, as a part of fire, as a part of Mother Earth, nature. Respect her. Lord Devi Durga, Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanghastita. In Chandi, that is another famous religious book of India, of Hinduism. A woman is being worshipped as mother. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matri Rupena Sanghastita. You see, Dustin, through these books, through these scriptures, through these texts, the narrative, they are conveying the narrative to common people. Respect woman as a mother. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupana Sanskita. She is the womb. A mother is the very womb of the universe. She is giving birth to the universe. Respect her. So our literature, our Indian religious texts, our Indian literature books, in all these, texts, women are being worshipped by women. These texts in Mahabharata, especially Draupadi alone is fighting against hundreds of, great warriors alone by her spiritual power, by her inner power, because she was born out of fire. So right now in Indian society, our laws are well and good. Okay, so there is no problem regarding laws. Our society has also, in the cities and in middle class families, societies have changed a lot. People have changed a lot. In India, women are much respected. Child is very much adored by her parents. No problem regarding that. But still, what is happening? Rapes are happening every day, every moment. So how to control it? In order to control it, we have to make our women stronger. We have to make our women stronger, and we have to change the attitude of our male children. And for changing the attitude of our male children, we have to give proper education to our women, because the mother ultimately trains the boy. Yeah. But that is the problem. In a certain class of society, women are not being properly educated.
So I'm curious, sort of a general question, would economic empowerment of women affect the status enough that, in your opinion, I want to ask Candice this first, and in your opinion, would economic empowerment of women also help the status of getting married?
Definitely, Dustin. Yeah, in particularly in India, women are so dependent upon men, financially they are not independent. And if they are not financially independent, then in many homes, they have to face brutal torture. You are not financially independent. If a woman is not financially independent, and if her parents are also not very, not capable of taking up her responsibility or the responsibility of her kids, then in that case, I have seen women, they are just, tolerating all kinds of nuisances like dull, dumb creatures.
I mean, I think one thing to consider is a lot of Indians that I've spoken to have said, well, it's so different in the US, it's so progressive. And I want to laugh because that's not true. And it's not true in Europe either. I've lived in Europe, I've lived in America for a number of years, and I worked at rape crisis centers in both. And one thing that I noticed is that the number of prosecutions for people who had been raped, and we're talking both genders here, was abysmal. It's kind of what Dustin said at the beginning of this. That is very significant because as you say, if the laws are in place to protect people, then in theory, things should work. But that's theory. In practice, I'm not sure that does happen because if anything, we're walking backwards. Like, for example, in America right now, we're practically abolishing abortion. If you think about it, if somebody's the victim of incest or rape and they become pregnant as a result of that, they now have to sometimes move 3 states in order to get access to an abortion. That's draconian. So we're going backwards, not forwards. And that's irrespective of whether you're pro-life or pro-choice, because it's about a woman's right to choose. How can a woman be equal if she doesn't have the right to choose? She can choose to not have an abortion. She can choose to say, my faith says I don't agree with abortion, and that's fine. But the thing is, she's making that choice. So if we're stepping back in that regard in America, and then we're also not educating people in schools, which is absolutely the case, we're shutting down education in terms of informing kids about what's out there, how to protect themselves. We don't have sex ed like we used to. So we're going backwards. And I think that's what happens with anything. When there's a reaction, and then there's change, and then there's another reaction in the opposite direction. And so as much as you want to go forward and progress, are you really going forward or progressing? I mean, look at Roe versus Wade. That was what, 1972 or 3? Mm-hmm. Look, it's 2020, 22, and we're still talking about this. We're still having these issues. There hasn't been that much progress. If we start to put it simply in gender perspectives, then we alienate men. And I mean, I'm a feminist, but I'll have a lot of women say to me, well, why do you want to be a feminist? That's a really old thing to do, and you don't need to be a feminist. And I'm like, well, to me, feminism just means treating women equally. It doesn't mean hating men. Right. So in a way, a man and a woman should say, yeah, I'm a feminist because I believe in equality. That's it. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. So you'll have as many women sort of creating problems in a way as you will men when it comes to this whole issue. And what you were saying, Dustin, about economics is very true. There's a higher rate of sexual assault and a lack of, I guess, justice among women who are disempowered through economic means. That is a reality. So you're absolutely right about that. But it isn't as simple as that, because if you give a woman the right to work and go out and earn money, and let's say she's educated and she goes out and earns money, she could still be raped, or she could be abused before she even started work by her father or her grandfather. So those things alone won't protect a woman. And the laws, it's lovely to think that they're all kind of in place and perfect, but my reality of working with the laws is that they are imperfect because they don't seem to protect women if you're not getting justice. If the person who's raped you doesn't get arrested, or he does get arrested, but he doesn't actually get convicted, or he gets convicted for like 3 months, then to me it's an erroneous law. It doesn't have
that is a very, very important issue, Candice. That is also I would love to focus upon. In India, there are so many laws that protect women against such kind of violence acts, but the problem is it takes decades to get justice.
I think a lot of people don't want to go through the process of reliving the experience too. It's very difficult for someone.
Another thing I would like to say one very, very important issue regarding it. That is Nirbhaya rape case. Perhaps you have heard about it. Mm-hmm. Nirbhaya, she was a medical student, and she was raped in a bus by 5 to 6 men, I think. So I just don't know the details about it. And she was there with her boyfriend also. He tried a lot to protect his girl, but he failed to do that. And they also, inserted an iron rod into her body. That was a horrible crime that they committed. And then they did what? They threw her out of the bus, and Nirbhaya, naked. She was lying on the street, bleeding horribly. And her boyfriend was there, and he started tried his best to stop the curse. And it happened in Delhi, that is the capital of India. He tried his best to stop the curse. But after 1 hour, perhaps somebody, just helped them, and she got admitted into a hospital. But after a few days, she died.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see how horrible thing happened in the capital of India, and why did nobody help
Right.
them?
Right. Yeah.
That is the question. That means the society is so neutral
Right.
to such crimes. The woman was lying there bleeding, naked, but nobody even turned back
But
towards her.
that happens here as well. Like we've had cases like that too. Because I remember when we did the Kali project, a couple of people wrote about that case. It was very shocking.
So we must come back to the main point again. That is humanism. When humanism is at stake.
Yeah.
Why humanism is at stake? Because in the system of education, we are not taught to love human beings.
Exactly.
We are taught to earn money. We are taught to be more prosperous, but there is lack of moral training. So we have to teach.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said, Dustin, at the beginning, that we worship power, but if we spent even a small amount of that time trying to care about each other and give a damn if somebody's suffering or they don't have enough money or their car's not working, just trying to help people.
Worship,
But we admire, like you said, we admire that.
Yeah.
And the problem with women, to some extent, is women will actually take on the mantle that men had, which is worshipping power, instead of reframing it and saying, well, maybe that wasn't the best way for us to live our lives. Maybe we need to have a different way of looking at things where power and success in those traditional ways is the only way of defining people. Maybe we need to look at it differently. But what they've done instead is just copied the pattern that existed before women had any power. That hasn't helped anyone.
We are
worshipping women as power, but we are not hesitating to beat her up. After doing sex with her forcefully. Who gave you the right, to do sex with her forcefully? If she says no, that means no. That was what the central theme of a wonderful movie. I just forget the name of the movie. Pink, most probably, where there is a famous dialogue, and it became, we are also discussing cultural matters here. So that's why I'm talking about movies and literature. So there is a wonderful dialogue, and I always remember that dialogue, and I always try to teach the lesson to my daughter also. No means no.
Yeah.
When a woman says no, it means no, you must stop there. You can force her. You can cross the limit. Yes, Dustin.
So we've got about 2 minutes left in the program. I want to thank you both for joining us today, and just this has been a really fascinating discussion. I personally learned quite a bit, especially from some of the remarks on India from Priyanka and from some of the views of from the interpersonal perspectives from Candice. So thank you. I
loved Candice's words very much. Loved it, Candice. Wonderful, wonderful. You're a wonderful writer. You write wonderful. I read your posts. And Dustin is a fabulous poet. But today I really feel blessed because, I got the experience of talking to a powerful woman. I'm not flattering you. It's from the depth of my heart that I salute you. India needs women like you. India needs women like you.
I'm one step away from moving to India. I'm pretty in love with India myself. And thank you, Dustin, for helping us by giving a platform for voices, for women's voices. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you both for joining us.
Okay.
This has been a perspective, a World Inkers Network perspective, and thanks to you guys out there watching. Remember, you can subscribe either side, subscribe to our channel, like, share, and comment on our content. And remember, you can also support us financially, paypal.me/nyparrot. You see there on the banner. And if you want to be on the show, I'd love to hear from you. So get in touch with me with a third-person short bio, as well as a headshot and a couple of sample works. It doesn't matter what kind of creative work you're doing. I want to hear from you. If you're an actor, a musician, memoirist, biographer, poet, short fiction, whatever, get in touch with me, literarycorner at newyorkparrot.com. And I'm Dustin Pickering. This has been a wonderful discussion on a very difficult topic to approach, and we had an excellent and thriving conversation. I want to thank Priyanka again, as well as Candice. You guys have been wonderful, and I want to tell the audience out there, you know what time it is for you guys. Get to writing. Watch Foreign Policy. World Inkers Monthly magazine is a fine source for your literary interests. It's an all-source magazine with poetry, prose, and essays and articles, as well as interviews. It's all full-color art and photography from a variety of voices and artists. You will find this magazine entertaining. This is an all-purpose readership, and we are looking for new voices. This sleek, full-color edition of World Inkers Monthly magazine will be something pleasant for your eyes as well as for your mind. And we're looking for authors for one book promotion in the magazine. If you're a business, we want to promote your business. You may submit your book reviews, your academic or non-academic articles on the humanities and the arts, as well as your literary writing and creative output, to publication.worldinkers@gmail.com. World Inkers Monthly magazine does not spare